Welcome to the Sales Podcast, Session 50. The chicks have come home to roost. Today we've got Natalie Eckdahl. She is the owner, founder, co-founder with her husband of the BizChix podcast. She's a mother of two, another one on the way. So in honor of moms, today's joke is about a young man that agreed to babysit one night so a single mom could have an evening out. At bedtime, he sent the youngsters upstairs to bed. He settled down to watch football. And one kid kept creeping down the stairs, but the young man kept sending him back to bed. At about 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. It was a next door neighbor, and she said if her son was there. And this young man, he was all upset. He was like, "Of course not. Your kid's not here." And just then, a little head appeared over the banister and shouted, "I'm here, Mom, but this guy won't let me go home." Now, that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. And with us about to have our seventh, I can tell you there's always some extra kid or multiple kids at our house. I'm not surprised we haven't locked 1 or 10 or 12 in our home at some point in time. But getting down to business, you know that our motto here at the Sales Whisperer in the Sales Podcast is, today is my day. I work diligently towards my goals, which are bigger than me. I bite off more than I can chew because only then will I truly know my current limits, and surpassing them becomes my new goal for today. Through education, accountability partners, and bold, decisive action, today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better yet. I'm ready to produce. And speaking of producing, I am producing a new membership site, a coaching program called Market Like a Man. If you visit marketlikeaman.com, you'll be redirected to a landing page on my site. I've got a video, I've got an outline of what I'm going to be covering. I'll be launching that in April at InfusionCon, but you can get on the notification list. There's nothing to buy, but go visit marketlikeaman.com and sign up now to be on the early bird notification list, and that will save you some money if you decide to enroll once we go live. So check that out, Market Like a Man. And now, someone that's not a man is our guest today. It's Natalie Eckdahl. I think you will enjoy hearing her story. She and her husband launched out on their own back in 2010 and started their own business. And they built that up to be quite a success. And then, as all entrepreneurs do, she branched out into the BizChix podcast, which is aimed at women. But she actually had me on as a guest as well on her podcast. So it's not all women. Just like Market Like a Man will not be just for men. So enjoy this interview with Natalie Eckdahl. Natalie Eckdahl, BizChix, the BizChixPodcast.com. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm great, Wes. Happy to be here. Thank you.
You know, I told you before we turned the recorder on that I don't like to trick pregnant women, but it doesn't mean that I won't, okay? So just because you're pregnant, you know, I consider myself pregnant because my wife's pregnant. So, we're equally pregnant. So all bets are off. The gloves are coming off. You ready?
I think Shannon would agree that it's not the same.
No, because all you can do is drink decaf coffee. I can drink anything I want. It's just fights on. Right.
I know. I was saying I wished I could have an adult beverage in my hand right now to make it through this podcast, but I'm just going to go on all my own strength. I'm going to do it.
All right. I have faith in you.
Thank you.
So I found you through the new and noteworthy on iTunes. So would you mind, for those that don't know you, give a quick overview, a little thumbnail sketch of who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into picking your brain.
Fun. Absolutely. Well, again, my name's Natalie Eckdahl, and I launched BizChix.com and the BizChix podcast January 31st of 2014. And it's a podcast where I interview amazing female entrepreneurs and a few cool dudes like Wes.
Woohoo!
And a few others. About 10% of my interviewees are male and the rest are female. And I was inspired to start the podcast after working in my own startup. I have an online scheduling company with my husband called Schedule Max. And I would listen to podcasts as just kind of a way to have some colleagues to relate to. It might sound funny, but they're kind of my friends, the people I'd be listening to, because I really don't have a lot of time to go out and network and meet other entrepreneurs. I'm a mom and a wife and busy with my family. And so adding on their activities and work, I just was really loving hearing other people's stories, but I wasn't hearing many stories of entrepreneurial women. And when I would, the usual male podcasters who are awesome, they just wouldn't ask some of the questions I was interested in, like work-life balance and more details on productivity. And so I decided to create what I wanted, which is the BizChix podcast. And we've just been thrilled to be in New and Noteworthy really since day one. So it's been an honor.
Yeah, very cool. I learned about New and Noteworthy after the fact because, you know, my strength and my weakness is I just go do. And I didn't research everything. How do you do that? You know, so that's I do want to know as we get into this how you did that. But before we get into like the nuts and bolts of that, talk to us about work-life balance. I mean, we're all struggling with that. I'm fortunate that I've been able to work from home. My wife stays home, but I still scratch my head wondering if we have it because there's a lot to do in building a business. And so from a woman's perspective, from a mom's perspective, how do you do it?
Well, I don't do it very well 100% of the time. And what's interesting, I actually feel better after talking to more and more entrepreneurs. To be honest, no one has it completely figured out. And we all do different things and manage things differently. Some women have only school-age children and they work what they call carpool to carpool.
Right.
So they work during the school day and then that they might work again a little bit after their kids go to bed. But while their kids are at home, they're essentially not working. Other entrepreneurs, just from talking to them, they don't necessarily have a very good work-life balance. Their phone is nearby, and they're checking email a lot. And so that's one thing I really try to do at home is to be focused about what I'm doing. And I'm not saying I've got this completely down, but I actually don't have my work email on my iPhone, and I don't get notifications for personal email on my iPhone or text notifications. I have to actually go look to see if I have any texts, okay. And I have to go look to see if I have any new emails. So it's really driven by my desire to see if anyone's connecting with me, not having other people kind of force their connection onto me.
Right.
And then I have a nanny that comes to my house 3 days a week. And in fact, she's here right now. And so I'll tell you how my day has gone today. So I got up this morning and I had some time to myself. And usually I would go to spin class, but I just couldn't get out of bed at 5 a.m. this morning. So I skipped that. But usually I go to spin class. It starts at 5:45. And then I get home. I have some coffee by myself. Decaf, sometimes a little caffeine. And then
depends on that baby, huh?
Yeah. My little guy will wake up. He's 2. And then I usually have to wake up my daughter who's almost 12. She'll be 12 on Wednesday of this week. And she's homeschooling this year. So that's another thing I have going on. And then we'll get some breakfast. And then my nanny gets here on the day she's coming at 9, which she did today. And then I was able to kind of talk to her, tell her what the day was going to look like. And then she takes my son to the park every day and then gives him lunch and puts him down for a nap. And I had 3 interviews today, one at 10, one at 11, and one at 12. And then I actually was able to have some lunch with him when I was done, and I put him down for his nap, and I had a little cat nap with him as well, and then snuck out of his room. So I had a little more time to do some social media work and make a cup of coffee before you and I started talking. And so it's kind of like there's a lot of back and forth. I'm working from home, but I'm able to pop in and pop out. My daughter's writing a report on Rome. And so I was able to review that for her in the day as well. So,
hey, you tell her teacher Rome was not built in a day, and this report will not be written in a day either. Okay?
It hasn't been. We're on like draft 3.
All right.
But it's been really an adventure homeschooling. I know your wife's homeschooling many of your children.
Yep.
And so I'm always kind of like back and forth. But at night, like kind of about 5 o'clock, I try to stop my day. And then don't think about work again until my little guy's in bed. My daughter stays up a little later, and I might be doing some emailing or social media or some work while she's on the computer or hanging out. So yeah, that's kind of, I would say it's not perfect, but the main thing, what I've learned is to just really try to be present in whatever you're doing. So if you're working, be present in that. And if you're with your children, be present with them. And it's hard, I think, as a woman. This is what I think is a little different from men and women. As a woman, it's really hard to turn off the family and not think about all the things that need to be done on that end. And I find, like, at least with my husband, like, he's so good about, like, not thinking about other stuff. So we work together as well. And sometimes I go into our office, and one time we were in there and I was like, so what do you think we should have for dinner tonight? And he was just like, why are you asking me about dinner at like 2 p.m.? Like, I will think about it when I'm hungry. But as women, we're kind of always thinking ahead. And so I love the differences.
Yep. If it wasn't for women, men would... the human race probably wouldn't exist at all. Cavemen would have killed each other in their caves or just starved to death looking for the remote control. So if I get a nanny, will I be able to take naps myself?
Well, a lot of really successful people take naps and now in history. And it's really, if you're an entrepreneur, you're making your own day. And if a nap, for me, I love a power nap, and it helps me be able to get through the day. That means I can get up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 10 or 11 and get like a 20 or 30 minute nap during the day. And I feel great. And especially when I'm pregnant, I'm really trying to make a point of, I'm not getting a nap in every day, but I'm trying to make sure I'm taking care of my body.
Yep. You got to do it. So what is this schedule max? How long you and your husband had that?
Well, we got the idea for it kind of midway through 2010, and we really wanted to have a business together. And my husband has a software development background, and I have a business and marketing background, and we really wanted to combine our skill sets and do something fun together. And I'm the type of person that likes to do everything online, and I really don't like to talk to people on the phone. There's only a few people I enjoy talking to on the phone. And if you're listening, if you're one of them. And we were looking for a business to create that kind of fit something that solved a problem for other entrepreneurs. And we came across online scheduling. And so our software allows people it's kind of like the open table of anything that's not a restaurant. So we basically are a virtual receptionist for like a local service provider, like your chiropractor or your hairstylist or your skincare professional or your dentist. They use our software and allow you to book appointments with them online 24/7. And then our software sends out automatic email reminders, and it sends out a confirmation first and then an email reminder and an email text about your appointment, which helps eliminate the no-show problem that people in these industries have.
Yep.
So, and then as we've gotten involved in podcasting and met a lot of coaches, we are now making some changes to our software to accommodate podcasters and coaches. So people in those industries have a need for time zone differentiation. And we currently have that capacity. We programmed it after we went to New Media Expo in January. Within like 3 weeks of that, we had that programmed in. And then we're currently programming in a Google Cal two-way sync.
Right.
So that because primarily people in those industries are using Google Cal. And it is a feature we've been asked by other professionals to add as well.
Right. So how did y'all do that? Were you both employees and just quit to launch this? Did you create this at night so you could walk away from your job? How did y'all make that happen?
Good question. It was a combination of things. We sold a piece of real estate, so we had some funds from that, and my husband also did some work kind of more part-time for some different companies in the area as a software developer, as a contractor. And then we just have some investment income too that we were able to make it work for, we kind of had our timeline for where we needed to be to make it happen. Well,
that's convenient.
Yes.
So you build that up. So how long did that take from the time you made up your mind, we're going to do this, to the time you made money?
It really took almost a year.
Wow.
It was unfortunately a lot longer process than we anticipated, and such a great learning experience because, what I've talked about our software doing, it's really complicated. If you think about the back end behind it, where we're keeping track of, and it's a very important asset. We're controlling a person's schedule. So we have to have a lot of security on our website. We actually allow credit card processing now. We can hold people's appointments with their credit card. And, we're getting people's contact information. We have emails and contact information. People can upload that into our system. And the whole back end ended up being a lot more complicated than we expected. And then also we, after lots of research, we chose to use an up-and-coming technology that my husband actually didn't know how to program in at the time. He had to learn how to program in it. And so that took time. And then I thought I was this marketing whiz, but I really didn't know a thing about social media. So I had to learn all about social media. Uh-huh. So it really was a great lesson in how things had shifted in the marketplace for both of our industries. And this allowed us, by creating this business, it allowed us to become at the top of both of our games, really. And we've been able to take some of the lessons learned to BizChix, launching that together as well. So for BizChix, my husband does all of the editing. We edit every episode. And he produces it and puts it together and launches it into the world 5 days a week.
So I guess my interview will be cut down to probably about 3 minutes of usable content. Tell him to go easy on me, all right?
He actually doesn't listen to the whole thing. He really likes to get rid of any background noise. He's actually a little bit of a perfectionist about it, but they turn out the sound quality is just really great. And he can fix if sometimes the person I'm interviewing maybe doesn't have as great a sound quality as I have. Recently, I interviewed someone who was in a co-working space, and I had to pause it, and I said, I'm hearing like men mumbling in the background. And she said, well, I'm in a phone booth in a co-working space.
Oh, man.
So he's able to, I was telling you beforehand, I'm using Adobe Audition to record our interviews, and it records voices on 2 tracks. So you're able to silence one track while the other person's speaking, or if someone coughs, it's easy to edit that out.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to take a peek at that. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I still want to focus on your original business before we get into BizChix. Because so you get that working, and you're making money, I'm assuming, and life is going along. You've got a family. You have another baby coming, and were you just not satisfied? I mean, did that just – is it pretty much on autopilot now, and you're just a typical entrepreneur? Just you saw another opportunity and you took it? What's going on there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to all of that, I think. I wouldn't say that the Schedule Max is not completely on autopilot, but basically the software is built. So unless we specifically choose to add a new feature, like right now, we're choosing to add Google Cal Sync. We basically have what most people in our niches that we're targeting would desire in the software. So it's a matter of just providing the support we need to provide. And we hired a virtual assistant around the same time we launched BizChix.
Oh, okay.
So we were able to offload a lot with her. And she's actually able to do a lot of the admin stuff associated with BizChix. So it's for me, what I'm actually doing is mainly just the actual interviewing.
Right.
And she's doing the show notes, and I'm about to delegate to her actually even inviting interviewees that I've approved to invite so she can take care of that process. And then people schedule with Schedule Max. We felt like it was a great way to cross-promote the 2 companies because once we discovered podcasts ourselves and got addicted to them and started realizing what a growing industry it is because right now only 1 in 4 people actually even listen to a podcast. Many people don't even know what a podcast is. Wow. So as that grows and more podcasters join the space, more people are going to need scheduling. And then the same with online coaching. That's just a booming industry as well. So we really saw a lot of ability to cross promote.
Right.
And we're serial entrepreneurs. So it was an element of that as well.
All right, so here's a feature you need to add to your scheduling thing, okay?
Let's do it.
You ready? This is a writer down. This is a bazillion dollar. I'm going on Shark Tanks with this if you don't do it, okay?
Okay.
You need to send an electric shock to people's phones and devices like 30 minutes before so that it wakes them up so they're on time for their appointment.
Okay. We will definitely look into how to do that and the legality of that.
I had 2 appointments missed today.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, I just have people call me like when they. One's a friend of mine, but he is a client and he wanted to catch up. I sent him my calendar. He made the appointment. He called me instead of at 11. He called me at 11:38, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I've moved on.
Yeah.
And the 9 o'clock guy, it was a joint venture discussion, just very preliminary, but we had begun talks last week. We were kind of continuing. Totally missed in emails, whatever. No reply. So. My assistant knows, that's a pet peeve of mine. It's like, be on time.
Exactly.
Be on time. So we need to send a shock. So if it's just to log in, then give them like a 3-minute shock, so they have time to log in. But anyway, you write that down. If you don't do it, I'm going on Shark Tank.
I wrote it down. If you decide to go on Shark Tank, I think I've interviewed 4 Shark Tank vets so far. You might want to talk to a few of them. They have some good tips.
Very cool. All right. So you roll this business out. Where did you get the VA? Are they in the U.S.? Are they in another country?
Yeah, her name's Lisa, and she's in the Philippines.
Okay.
So that's been interesting as well to work with someone in a different time zone, in a different culture. And we found her through Chris Ducker's company, Virtual Staff Finder. And I was actually surprised. I'm going to sound like a salesperson for his company. I'm not an affiliate in any way. I'm just a happy customer. But I think it was less than $300 of like a finder's fee. And they found us 3 candidates. We really, as more detailed as you can be in what you're looking for, whoever you're using, whether you're using like Odesk or Guru.com or a US-based VA finder.
Right.
Really knowing the tasks you want that person to perform and what skill set you're looking for.
Yep.
So we were looking for a little more high level person because we actually want her to interact with our Schedule Max customers. We needed someone with a great command of the English language and someone also with social media experience as well.
Right.
And so they found us 3 candidates, and honestly, we felt like we could have hired any one of them.
Right.
So it was very impressive. And, but for us, really the time zone difference has been a big adjustment. It took us a number of weeks. So when she's working for us Thursday afternoon, so I'm in you and I are both in Pacific time. I actually have a spreadsheet, so I always know what time it is for her, but basically she'll start working. She's working now. She started her day a little while ago.
Yep.
But it's Tuesday for her.
Right.
So I have to remember on Thursday that it's her Friday.
Right.
So I'm not going to have her at all on my Friday. So anything I want done over the weekend for my Friday or Saturday, I need to make sure it gets done by Thursday night, so to speak.
Right.
So, but we've been really happy with having someone like that and that kind of help. And it's obviously a lot more cost effective than having someone here locally.
Yeah.
But there's benefits. It's a cost benefit. So if I had someone locally, there's other things that I could have them do that I can't have her do.
Yeah, I've got both. I've got a local, physical person. She comes to my office, it helps with fulfillment and things. And then I've had a Filipino as well for probably 4.5 years.
Wow.
And I kind of modeled my program after Chris's. I have FilipinoTechSupport.com.
Do you?
Yeah, does the same thing.
I didn't know that. We didn't talk about that in our interview.
Hey, you cut me off after like 3.5 hours. I mean, we couldn't get to it. I mean,
so how do you find working with people overseas?
Hey, this is my interview. Mommy.
I was waiting for that.
Cheating.
Okay, I'll sit back and wait to be.
It was fantastic, and it was a bit of a shift as well. But golly, I hired Anna, and I paid her what she asked. She was doing a little bit of part-time work for me, and I found her through a friend of mine and he didn't need her anymore, so I just took her over. And he was paying her $800 a month, which was pretty high dollar, really.
Yeah, it is.
For the Philippines. But in the big scheme of things, it was super affordable because she could do everything, Photoshop, CSS, HTML, web design. I taught her Infusionsoft over the years. We became friends, and, I bought her a new iMac a couple years ago. They were so thrilled. She had an old PC, and just
wow.
part of it was to be nice. Part of it was to be smart, because she was rebooting. She wasn't as efficient, and they were just thrilled. And I found I had hired a couple of guys, and I don't know, I found women and especially moms, right, at least over there in the Philippines, they were just more reliable. Mm-hmm. And that's who I've had good luck with. But I have hired her family. I've hired her brother, her cousin. So getting that kind of word of mouth has really helped find good people through her after that. But,
I was surprised that because, for us, you really can't live on, kind of the price range is anywhere from, I would say, $5 to $1,000, depending on, like if you're getting a web developer level person.
Right.
But you can pretty much find a basic VA if you're just looking for the basics for about $500 a month. And that's someone working full time, 40 hours a week for you. And when you say that in our economy, in our U.S. economy, it sounds crazy. But when I was interviewing the women I was interviewing and learning about them and their background, they are moms. They have a nanny, a full-time nanny. Their nanny's doing more than my nanny's doing.
Yeah. Their
nanny's making them dinner. I was like, wow, I need to move to the Philippines. But they're, they had a full-time nanny every day, doing all their housework, making them dinner, doing all their grocery shopping. And they're working for us, and they're making a really great living. Our VA just traveled to Cebu, which is like a resort area. She had a wonderful vacation with her husband, celebrating their anniversary. And So yeah, $500, $700, $800 goes a long way in the Philippines.
Yeah, it really does. And, I couldn't have grown without her. Just doing the things because $800 a month, right? Even if you find somebody on Odesk, you're going to get them maybe at an affordable price, but you got to ramp them up. It's project based. Then you're going to go find somebody else or see if they're still available. And, for $500, $800 a month, you can afford to have somebody say, look, just, you know what? You don't know something? You know what? Here, I'm going to buy you this course. Take a month and go learn it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you would spend $800 to pay somebody else to do just one project one time. Yeah.
Well, and I can't imagine how excited your VA was about getting an iMac, because we've talked, we were initially, because we do everything on Macs, we wanted someone that has a Mac, and the source agency basically said, no one here has a Mac. They're so expensive. They're really not affordable. So I'm sure it just creates such a status for her family, and that's such a great idea.
Yeah, it was basically 2 months' salary.
Yeah.
But I mean, she had been with me a good 2 years at that point. And, she had full access to everything.
Right.
My email, PayPal account, all of my hosting, all of my domain registrations, Infusionsoft. And that's the cool thing with the Philippines. They're loyal, they know English. Most of them grow up learning both, the local, I think it's called Tagalog. Is their local language. They learn English. But, that loyalty, and at least for now, they're not extremely entrepreneurial, which means they won't take your idea and steal it and become your competitor, 3 months later.
Well, and in truth, in your business and in mine, it's really hard to take that idea and recreate it. I think it's like a general fear most entrepreneurs have, or when they even have an idea, like, I don't want to tell anyone because someone's going to steal it. But the likelihood of that happening is so minute, because the amount of effort it goes into creating any kind of entrepreneurial venture is so much work.
Right.
And, so it's really not as much of a concern. We've been using a software, I'm still learning exactly how it works, called LastPass. Have you heard of that?
Oh, sure. For Firefox?
It works on, no, I'm using it. It works on any browser. Yeah, it's in Firefox. You're right, Firefox.
Yeah.
And so we can have kind of one password and share that with our VA and put all of our multiple passwords for different domains and social media into that. So she doesn't actually have access to our actual password. She just has the one LastPass password, and it works on all of our sites.
Oh, very smart.
So that if, for example, you need to change VAs or something doesn't work out with that person, you don't have to go change every single site password.
Oh, yeah. So that LastPass, so you just make them a user on your LastPass?
Yes,
basically?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was a good tip we got.
Very cool. And then they just don't have overall admin rights to that LastPass. That way the passwords are protected. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been helpful because we're new. I mean, you've worked with your VA for a long time. You have a lot of trust, and we trust our VA too, but it's still a new relationship. So, and then it's just a matter of convenience of having just one password to remember for us as well.
Well, I just have the same password, and it's Natalie from BizChix Rocks the house, and sometimes it's the house. It just sometimes there's an exclamation point in there, but that's the password.
There you go. Well, everyone knows we can get into Wes's Infusionsoft and see what he's doing in there. Natalie
Rocks. That's it. All right. So you're rolling, you're moving and grooving. You got Schedule Max going. But while you were building, I mean, was there any days when you and your husband said, "All right, what the hell are we doing? Let's go back and get a real job"?
So many days. I can't tell you. It was such a challenge, and also learning how to work with. We brought in a few other developers to really get going a little faster, and really learning to work with those guys was one of the biggest challenges. And we're in the Gen X age group. You are too, right?
I hope so. I don't know.
You're not a baby boomer.
No, I'm not a boomer. No,
you're Gen X.
Yeah, I'll be 44 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we're Gen X, and a lot of the people we're going to hire are Gen Y, or the millennials, which is what our software developers are, or were the guys we had when we were building. And awesome guys, really liked them. We liked they were local, and we could see them, and we could all be in the room together working. But they just see the world differently and are really motivated differently. Right. So. And we really didn't know anything about managing, that generation. And we didn't even understand the differences at the time. So we had a huge learning curve. And, one of the things we had was we were trying to really meet this deadline to get our beta site done so we could test it with, potential customers and see what they wanted adjusted and make those changes before we went live for real. And things just kept dragging on. And so finally we decided, well, let's create a bonus for them. Let's give them $500 or $1,000 each to just finish by this really aggressive timeline. It was a month from then, and there was a lot to get done in that month. And my husband had this brilliant idea to, instead of offering them cash, to offer them each an iPad. So there was a side benefit to us as well as in your case with your VA, in that we wanted our software to work well on the iPad and the iPhone. So the benefit was if they actually had an iPad, they could test it on that and not have to wait till they got to the office to test things on ours. And what was interesting is they're both married, and both of their wives really wanted an iPad as well. So let me tell you, those guys worked hard. I mean, who knew they could work that hard? They worked so hard to get this deadline met, and they did it. And then we had a really fun lunch. We all went out with our spouses. We had their wives come, and we all went out to lunch and presented their iPads gift wrapped with a thank you note. And it was really just made for a fun team building moment as well.
Right.
So that was just some of the, one example of us kind of how can we make this work? Is it working? Yeah. And just one example of a creative solution. And there's other days where, my husband and I will get in a disagreement at work, and we don't get to go to separate houses.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. He goes to the doghouse. I know it very well. I can show him how to furnish it and how to hack in your neighbor's Wi-Fi so you have internet signal and.
Okay, well, I'll get you two in touch. He might need some help there.
All right.
But and so it's hard to sit around the dinner table and be frustrated about something at work. And there's times, to be honest, that I was like, I don't think we should be working together. If we weren't working together, we wouldn't be mad at each other right now, and frustrated. And it's so sweet. Mark has always said that he thought us working together would improve our communication. And in many levels, he's right, because we've had to work things out and they can't drag on. It's, I can't ignore him for 24 hours because we have work we need to get done. So, he really can't be in the doghouse because we really need each other at work, and we're both essential team members. And to be honest, I actually was interested in doing BizChix initially as partially to have something that was just mine.
Right.
But again, I needed him. I could not do this by myself. Obviously I could have if I wanted to, if I didn't have another business, if I could work a lot more hours than I want to work, I could figure out all the tech and audio parts behind it. I'm actually a fairly techie chick, but it's been so helpful that I can just focus on the interviewing, which I really love doing, and connecting with these amazing entrepreneurs. And he is taking care of all the technical aspects behind it. So I would never have been able to launch as quickly as we launched. We basically went to New Media Expo in January, and all we had was a logo, an idea, and a one-page placeholder website. And within 3 weeks of returning, we had launched into iTunes.
Wow.
So it was a very fast launch.
So how did you do that?
Well, I was really fortunate to make some great connections at that conference, which I highly recommend if you do anything in podcasting, blogging, web TV, or you want to in the future. It's a really great event, and people are really wanting to connect with each other and talk. So I've been to other conferences where people just don't really talk, or there's kind of an in-group, and those are the only people that kind of know each other. But it wasn't like that at all. Every speaker was accessible. People were in the hallways talking. When you sat down, people were asking, what do you do? What are you thinking of doing? And business cards are being exchanged constantly. And so I was actually able to line up a number of speakers at that event. And once I got home, I just started interviewing, literally. So I did a ton of interviews in like 3 weeks, and then we went live. I actually wasn't ready to go live. I wanted to wait a while longer. And my husband, Mark, is if you make a goal, you meet the goal. So I'm a little flexible. I will meet my goals, but the timeline for me is more flexible. So he really just wanted to move off the momentum we had from that conference and the contacts we'd made. And I'm glad he did, because honestly, every day more and more podcasts are getting launched. And so I'm really glad we got out there.
Right. So you basically you put them in the can, right? So you were able to launch with 10 or 20 of them done. So you kind of I wanted to have, so kind of my mentor is John Dumas. He's of Entrepreneur on Fire. We both know him. Yep. And I'm part of his mastermind group, Fire Nation Elite. Yep. And I'm also part of Podcasters Paradise. Uh-huh. And that's how I can give you these great new and noteworthy tips. They all come from John. And, so if anyone has questions about Podcasters Paradise, they're welcome to contact me. And it's quite an investment now. I actually joined it when he was in his beta phase. Yep. And it was like one of 28 people that joined when all he had was a placeholder website saying, this is what we were planning to do in a month. So, but now it's close to $1,000 to join, but it's a lifetime membership filled with all kinds of tutorials,
and direction. So that's how Mark was able to get really up to speed on the tech. There's forums with people that are super, there's people that have been in sound and audio for years. They've been DJs or they've been in radio, or in bands. And so they have a lot of audio experience. So even just deciding, there's so many decisions to make. What microphone do you get? What recording software do you use? What media host do you use? How do you connect all that in so iTunes can find you? And there's just all these elements that make podcasting a little higher barrier to entry than starting a blog.
Right.
Not impossible. I highly encourage anyone that wants to have a podcast to do one. It's so much fun. But yeah, and then I recorded in advance. I really wanted to have 20 or 30 recorded in advance, but I think I had 15 recorded.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of the dilemma we had, or the argument at home.
Did you put all 15 up on the moment you launched?
No. So here's some of the strategy, which I'm happy to share. What John recommends is to launch on your launch day with 3 podcasts. And the reason you want to have 3 is that if someone subscribes to you, if they only launch with 1, there's nothing for people to subscribe to. It's actually not even an option in iTunes to hit subscribe, because iTunes doesn't know if you're going to make any more.
Right.
So if you put 3 up, it tells iTunes, boom, this is someone who people can subscribe to.
Right.
And then if someone hits subscribe, they download all 3 episodes. So it improves your download numbers.
Gotcha.
So, and then what John recommends, which we followed his little formula, is doing that. And then, for the next 2 weeks, regardless of what your eventual release schedule will be, that you release daily for the next 2 weeks. So it just helps build momentum. And iTunes is looking back in time to see how many downloads you've had in the last 48 hours. So it gives you that opportunity to move into new and noteworthy faster.
I got you.
And then the other element is reviews and ratings. So it's really important to get and stay in new and noteworthy by having reviews and ratings. And no one knows the exact formula that iTunes uses to create this. And, I'm in a number of podcasting communities now, and there's people that I know have higher download numbers than me, and yet I am ahead of them sometimes in new and noteworthy. So I don't know how that is. And sometimes I have more ratings than them. Sometimes I don't.
Right.
So we also kind of think they look at how you're growing, how your subscription base is growing or your downloads are growing. Mm-hmm. And then the number of ratings and reviews is really important. And if anyone listening is going to start a podcast, that's the benefit of being in some podcast community, because fellow podcasters know why getting iTunes rating and review is important. Whereas your friends and family, they may not even know what a podcast is. So
yep.
Even my best girlfriends, I was asking, I launched my podcast. Could you go and do a review? And they're like, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
It's really confusing. And I'll do it, next week. And I'm like, I need you to do it today.
Yep.
So, and my sweet mom, she did figure out how to do it after a few days. So, and I had to be on the phone with her. Now click this and now click that. So other friends of mine were a little smarter. They created a little screencast training video to send to friends and family.
Yep.
But what I was able to do in Podcasters Paradise was to literally ask people individually through private message in our forum, I've launched my podcast. Could you please help me? Would you please give me an honest review of my podcast? And by honest, I mean 5 stars. And this is awesome. No, I didn't say that. But and then I said, and let me know how I can help you in the future, whether that's reviewing you or looking at your artwork or anything that you need. I'd be happy to. So it's a really supportive. I'm finding what I love also about this industry is just people are so supportive and wanting to help each other. And even people that you think could be your competitors, I don't see, there's other women that have launched, very similar podcasts, what I'm doing. I'll say one great one. It's Business Women Rock. So it's very similar to BizChix, right?
Yep.
And we kind of vie for top spaces in our categories in new and noteworthy. We launched at a similar time, and we've become friends online. Yeah. So we're actually going to be on each other's shows soon. And what I say is there's no mean girls here. There's no reason to be competing because the average person listens to 6 podcasts.
Wow.
So if someone likes me, they're going to like my friend,
right.
Businesswoman Rocks. They're going to like that.
Right.
So they should be listening to both of us, and I hope they do.
Right. Well,
and plus the pie is getting bigger, right? More people are figuring out what podcasts are. More listeners are coming on board. We don't need to fight about people and compete against each other when the pie is just getting bigger.
Yeah. I think a little light bulb went off for me there because it's been hard as hell to get people to leave reviews. So I don't know. I may need to join one of these little groups, do some little sharing because, man, I ask, and every episode I ask, my weekly whisper email, I ask. I mean, I think I've got 2.
I know. I will give you one, Wes. I think I might have already. I think I saw that and I felt a little sorry for you.
Then I'll have 3.
No, but I think honestly, our listeners just don't understand the importance. And just for people listening, the reason we want to be in new and noteworthy in iTunes, 1, we can only be there for 8 weeks.
Right.
And 2, while we're there, that's where people go when they're like, I'd really like to find, I'm like out of podcasts. What should I listen to?
Yep.
And it's actually not very easy to search in iTunes for things. It's very hard to even find where the podcasts are. And so once they're in the new and noteworthy section, that's where they're finding new people. Right. So that's why we're all trying to get there. And, right. Our friends and family and even our listeners, they don't understand and understand the importance of it.
So a few more questions for you, because I notice on your site, so you are asking for people or giving them the option to listen to you on Stitcher and SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. Are those just the smaller competitors to iTunes?
So Stitcher is what people listen to if they have an Android device.
Okay.
The Galaxy, all those other non-iPhone smartphones. Basically, that is the, I don't know. Do you have an iPhone, Wes?
But of course.
Of course. Hello. We love Apple. Did you buy your VA an iPhone yet?
I did not.
I'm just kidding.
I got an iMac. That was a lot more money.
Yes, it was. Well, I listen to the majority of the ways I consume podcasts are through my phone. There's a podcast app run by the iTunes store, and there's a few other apps out there that play podcasts too, but that's just what I use. I haven't changed. But there is no iTunes podcast app on the Android phones, so they use the Stitcher app. So that's why I have Stitcher. And to be honest, I'm still figuring out SoundCloud. If anyone from SoundCloud wants to contact me and help me understand SoundCloud a little better, I would like that. So I'm still not sure why I have SoundCloud and why it's great, but I have it. It's just another place people can go to listen.
Right. Well, hey, that's an honest answer.
Yeah. You might have to have Mark on the show my husband to answer that question.
Yeah, and I had a hard time just getting Stitcher set up, and I don't even know if it is yet. I mean, I went through literally months. I was like, what's going on? I finally sent him a message, so I don't know. This is reminding me to go check.
Yeah, no, and that's been like the benefit of, like I said, this Podcasters Paradise community is getting to getting that kind of help. So like you just get stuck, and we don't all have like 8 or 10 hours to research one little thing like, why can I not see my podcast on Stitcher when I think I've done everything I'm supposed to do?
Right.
And the same thing happens with the media host I use is Libsyn. Yep. There's a few things you can do incorrectly in Libsyn, and iTunes will not pull in your artwork, or iTunes will not pull in an episode. And so we're able to help each other. And there's a few different private Facebook groups. We can talk offline, and I'll connect you to a few.
Okay, cool.
Where you can get that information too.
All right. So last couple of questions. Number 1, what is on your desk? What are you reading now, or what do you read every year to fire yourself back up?
One of my new favorite books is The Slight Edge. Have you read that book? I
have not.
And I don't have the author's name handy. For some reason, it escapes me. But it basically talks about the concept of, or there's another book called The Compound Effect, and they're similar, and I think one's inspired by the other. But in The Slight Edge, he talks about the benefit of doing things a little at a time on a consistent basis. And over time, you see the results. And it can be small things. One example he talks about is reading a good book for 10 minutes a day. So if I read a business book for 10 minutes a day, at the end of the week, I really don't see a change in my life. But at the end of the year, if I have gone through 12 amazing, inspirational business or motivational books or books on leadership, I have added a lot of knowledge to my brain and have hopefully applied a lot of those principles.
Is this Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge?
Yes, Jeff Olson. Thank you.
All right. Got it.
Yeah, I really love this book. And then you can really apply it to any area of your life. So for working out, if I work out today, tomorrow I can't really see a difference. But if I work out 4 or 5 times a week, in 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, I'm going to start seeing a big difference in the way my body looks. And so it's about making those choices a little at a time. And every day, just like the reason you make that good choice or that choice, that's right for you. So deciding, do I want to have that candy bar or that brownie or whatever obviously I like chocolate. And I don't deprive myself of chocolate. I like to have a little bit of really good chocolate every day. But, over time, if you're having a bowl of ice cream every night, you're going to see the results on your body. But if you forego that ice cream most nights, you're also going to see the results with the slight edge. So I just think it's such a great philosophy. I've been teaching it to my daughter to help her make good choices. And I think it's a really great read. So
you're saying that there's not like this overnight flip a switch and it all happens? Okay, I want that book.
I think you need to write it then.
Oh, man. All right. Then I got to charge too much because everyone will know my secret.
I know.
So
we all want to know your secret.
So the compound effect. So that's by Darren Hardy.
Yeah.
And I
believe that one is inspired by the slight edge, but I could be flipping it.
Okay.
But I think I heard someone talk about the compound effect, and then I think it was Amy Porterfield. Uh-huh. And then I was reading about it, and then I found the slight edge. And I've heard a number of entrepreneurs really like that book, but I think it's kind of a timeless book.
Yeah, that one. Well, I'm going through, and a friend of mine that's very successful here locally, built up a great business on his own, recommended this journal, and I just got it not too long ago. And because Darren Hardy's the publisher of Success Magazine, and he has this Living Your Best Year Ever. And so, smart guy. So those are good books.
Can I give one more?
Sure.
So on a different level, since we're both parents and you're parenting 7, I'm about to be parenting 3. I'm going to be calling you.
I am only parenting 6.875% right now.
Okay. Since you're parenting nearly 7.
Nearly 7. All right, good.
I love this book called Simplicity Parenting. And that's another one I like to glance at every year. I live in Orange County, California, which is a very affluent area. And it's easy to give our kids a lot and to have a lot of material possessions and to get over involved in activities. And this book really talks about the benefit of kind of slowing down, having less. Mm-hmm. And one thing I did when I first read it, my daughter was 6 and she was going to be away from the home for a couple days. And I literally went through her entire room and cleaned everything out based on the principles I had read in this book. And I was worried when she came back because I got rid of a lot of things. I got rid of all those party favors people give kids.
Whoever invented that?
There it is. We are throwing that out. I've actually stopped doing that because I throw out what other people give my kids and all those McDonald's toys and all the little trinkets, the 99-cent store stuff, all the plastic stuff. And then there was just trash in her room. I couldn't believe it. There was old artwork that we didn't need to save. I had like a bag of trash, a bag of toys to donate, and like a bag of clothes to donate, and even books to donate. So one of the things they talk about is just like the idea of like rotating, not having too much stuff out. Like we can only handle seeing so many things. Like even an awesome bookshelf with my toddler can only handle seeing so many books. I'm better off having maybe 5 or 10 books out a day and then rotating them. And then he's like excited that there's something new. But if I have all 40 of our toddler books out, it's a little overwhelming for him to even see what's there. So that was kind of one of the concepts. And the other is just not overloading your kids with technology and activities, and that slowing down and letting them have some time for creativity and time to be bored. Like, it's good if they're bored. They'll have to figure out what to do with their time.
Yep.
A lot of creativity comes from being bored.
Yeah. So, all right, fantastic. I'm going to tell my wife that the BizChix lady told me to throw everything away from my kids' room.
No, that's not what she told you. I'm gonna get in touch with Shannon now.
That's what I heard. And when I'm done editing this podcast, that will be what you said.
Well, Wes, I am recording also, remember?
Oh, whatever. People will trust me. This is my interview. You throw that recording away.
No, it's really amazing how much stuff we can accumulate. I'm actually at that point right now. My son has gotten so many of these huge trucks. He loves like the fire truck, and they all make noise.
Oh, whoa. Wait a minute. You can't get rid of those.
I'm not going to get rid of all of them, but do you need to have 3 big fire trucks that are almost the same that all make noise? No. I think one is good.
More power.
How many garbage trucks do you need? He's really into garbage trucks.
7?
No. 1 or 2.
1 a day.
That's fine. I'll rotate them.
And then if friends come over,
they don't all need to be out.
You need like 14. And then if you have like 2 best friends, then you need like 21. I'm just saying, we need our kids to be sociable and teach them to share.
So anyway, I really love that book. People should check it out. And of course, I don't know that author either, because for some reason, authors don't stay in my head. Right. But I remember the titles of their books.
Hey, it's all that matters. We can Google it.
Yep.
Turn to the Google. They will spy on you, and they will know, and then they will make a recommendation based on what you said. It's
a very good book.
All right. Very cool. All right. So final parting words for our listeners.
From me or from you?
Well, I get to edit this in post-production, so I'll have all kind of final words.
Well, I just want to encourage anyone that's interested in becoming an entrepreneur. I am such a fan of it, having control of my own schedule. If I was working full time for someone else, I wouldn't be able to take a break in the middle of the day and put my son down for a nap, or, hang out with my daughter have a cup of tea with her. And there's just something about having that lifestyle, and it's hard work. It's really a lot of work to be an entrepreneur, as you know. And, but I'm just such a fan of it. And I hope that people listening, if they're not entrepreneurs already, they will head that way and then come be on the BizChix podcast.
All right. And so people can find you and it's Chix with an X, right? So
with an X. BizChix.com.
Yep.
You can also tweet me at BizChix Podcast, and I manage that myself. And that's a great way to connect with me. I'm on there a lot. And then our online scheduling software is ScheduleMax.com, and we have a free 30-day trial on that as well, if anyone needs online scheduling for their business.
Yep, $15 a month. Mention the Sales Whisperer, and she'll give it to you for $30 a month.
If you start a free trial and mention the Sales Whisperer, I will give you some kind of special.
She will give you that electric shock that'll turn you away. That's what you need. You need for those developers, instead of giving them an iPad, you should have just shocked them every day.
Well, what was your motivational quote in my interview?
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah. I really want to be on your staff, Wes. I think you're all talk and no action, though. I think you're a big teddy bear.
This will be cut out. This will be cut out of the podcast. I will break my rule, and I will edit this out. You cannot let everyone know.
I think people know.
You just took over. That's what you pregnant women do. You just take over.
It's hard. We've got a lot going on in our body. While we've been sitting here interviewing, you've just been interviewing. I've been creating human life.
I know, and probably knitting at the same time, and tweeting and solving cold fusion, and you probably invented the electric shock thing all on this call.
It's done. It's already in iTunes.
That's what
it's
you
in
women
the App
do.
Store. It's in the App Store. Go there.
I've been sitting here playing with Silly Putty, just kind of looking at my screen saying, how come your face isn't moving? And then it's just a picture. All right.
Oh.
Well, very nice. Thank you for taking the time, sharing your words of wisdom. I hope to see you this week down in San Diego for at least a day. I'm going to run down there and run back.
Yeah, we have to get a selfie.
All right. Is if two people do a selfie, is it still a selfie?
They can. Yeah, now you can. Now it can be like a whole group. I didn't know it changes so fast, but that's what's happening.
Wow. Technology. I've got to keep up. I've got to do a better job. I need a nanny so I can take naps and these ideas will come to me in my sleep.
Yeah, you really do.
I get smarter when I'm better rested.
Thank you
right.
so much, Wes. I loved being on the Sales Whisperer.
Hey, it was great having you. Take care of those little ones. Grow some humans.
I'm on it.
All righty. See ya.
Bye.
Lots of good advice there from Natalie. Did you hear what she did? It's kind of like Cliff Ravenscraft. He was on session 19. Cliff and his wife lived under their means so they could follow their dreams and launch his own business. Natalie and her husband, Mark, lived under their means. They had some investment, they had some real estate, they had some things they could liquidate to follow their passion. So not only did they live under their means, they made wise investment choices, but they pulled the trigger and jumped in. Like they left that comfort behind to follow their passion. But then it was harder than they thought, but they stuck with it. Things usually are harder than you think they're going to be. They take longer. They cost more to make happen, but it's worth the effort, okay? And it's kind of like the birthing process, if you will, speaking of babies, with Natalie and me. That there is good that comes from that labor and delivery. And I'm glad as a guy I don't have to do it, but hey, going through that struggle, though, no matter what it is, through college, joining the military, getting your degree, or just getting your hands dirty and your knuckles bloody out in business, it's worth the effort. God is telling you have to learn something. You're not ready yet for whatever reason. And there's things you must learn, lessons you must learn, skills you must acquire, things you must perfect in your processes before you're ready to really take it to the next level. But it's worth the effort. Okay, stick with it. There is no more security in this world today, at least not from big business or big government. Okay, we have to get back to our American pioneer spirit, head west, manifest destiny, whatever you want to call it, and plow your own way, make your own roads. Okay, that is the security of today and tomorrow. Being reliant on yourself, self-sufficient, know how to generate a lead, how to make a sale. Okay, those types of skills will always be needed. So rely on yourself. Know that you're strong enough that you can learn the skills and apply them and make it happen. And like Natalie said, find a group. She joined John Lee Dumas's Podcasters Paradise, and they help one another. I'm launching the Market Like a Man. So be sure to visit marketlikeaman.com. Sign up now. Get on the early bird list. We're going to be launching that in late April. And you're going to want to be a part of it, because in that, I'm going to break down everything I've learned since 1997, really since 1994, when I first started dabbling in sales while I was still in the Air Force. And really some of the things that I do now, I learned going all the way back into college at the Air Force Academy back in 88 on leadership, attention to detail, how to get things done, how to set big goals, but how to focus on the little tasks to make sure you get to the goal. And then how I've built up a business, while my wife of 18 plus years has stayed home the entire time. So I didn't have dual income. I didn't have something to fall back on. So that's what the Market Like a Man is going to be about, is how to get things done, especially when you're in corporate America, when you're struggling in the cubicle, when it's just eating away at your soul, right? Taking your life away. And there's something you want to do, but there's those that rely on you to deliver, to keep a roof over their heads. So you've got to be smart on how you market and how you grow. And that's the basis and the foundation of the Market Like a Man. So thanks for listening. If you heard on the podcast as well, Natalie and I were talking about getting reviews. Those help bubble up the podcast so others can see it and can learn. So please take a minute, go to iTunes, write, a 2-sentence review on the podcast just to help others find it. Okay, if you just visit thesalespodcast.com, it'll redirect you to iTunes. Under the little picture there on the left, click on View in iTunes, and then up top, you can write a review. All right. So thanks for listening. And as always, remember to sell different.